Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror film reviews, ratings, rankings, and rumors. Now for your hosts, Danny, Joel, and Katrina.
All right, this is Scare Talk. I am Danny, and I am here with Katrina the Kid.
That's what I thought I'd do.
And we've got Juvenile Joel over there. And today we are joined by the director and writer of the short film You're on Your Own, Kid, which as we've seen recently and has been at the Sacktown Movie Buffs Film Festival. This is Mike Matsui.
Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here. I'm really excited. I mean, I'm just happy to talk to other moviegoers and people who are obsessed with movies, because that's all me and my buddies talk about all the time. Drives my wife nuts, but that's my life, you know. It keeps me, film keeps me alive, you know. I always say that, but it's true, you know.
Okay, cool. Nice. Yeah, that was me and Joel. We didn't grow up together, but we talked movies for a long time. We worked at Hollywood Video back in the day.
Way back in the day.
Yeah. My mom used to send me to Hollywood Video with a fake debit card. And I would rent videos and stuff when I was like 10. I didn't know. You know, my mom was crazy. So I'd come home with all these movies, and she's like, just keep it. But I miss Hollywood Video. I'm so sorry, Hollywood Video.
Yeah, you're the reason we went. They went under.
That's the problem. And Redbox.
Yeah.
All right. So your short film, You're on Your Own, Kid. Can you explain kind of what it's about real quick to us?
Yeah. It's funny because it's hard to explain them sometimes without ruining them, but sure. I think I'm getting good at it. So Olivia, 9-year-old, she's being stalked by a monster in her house. And if I just leave it at that, I think I lose a lot of people, because they're like, yeah, I've seen that movie like 20 times. Yeah. But this film in particular is from her perspective. It's not from an adult lens. It's from a 9-year-old's perspective. So we see everything in her world, her way. And much like a lot of children, she sees all the parental figures in her life, or things that we are taught are good. She sees them that way. The things that aren't, typically, a lot of parents, especially bad ones, will say are bad things. She sees them as bad. And the film explores the metaphor between the things that you love the most could be the worst for you. In the film, we play a lot with that, with the creature design. The creature design feeds a lot off of the character Sophia's love for things like her doll and her fears. We do a lot of, in the film, there's a lot of sound effects and lighting that really plays on the story that you have to pay attention to. It's not a film that you can just kind of watch and not pay attention and not fully get the full experience. And that's what I love about it. A lot of this stuff will be missed, when you watch it, but a lot of it is, to be totally blunt, it's for me. It's not for everyone else. Whoever catches it and sees it, that's amazing, and it makes me really happy. But a lot of the stuff was planted for me. Ultimately, short films, especially when you fund them yourself, they're really personal, and they really mean a lot to you, and you put a lot of effort and passion into them. And this one was no different, especially being my first professional short film.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the gist of the film. A 9-year-old girl gets stalked by a monster, and then things get turned on their head, and everything's not what it seems.
Yeah.
And you really get to see like I said, from the perspective of a 9-year-old, that's the best way to explain it. You know,
Yeah.
you when you're a kid, you walk into the hallway and there's monsters and the hallway goes on and on forever.
Yeah.
When you're an adult,
Yeah.
just a hallway. So
Yeah,
it's a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah. I think you
great
did
way to
actually a
explain it.
really genius
Yeah, I
way of
did.
explaining it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would have
And-
totally spoiled it if I tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a few things like to highlight there that you mentioned as a viewer. One, like I did appreciate that there were so many little details that were missed. I watched it multiple times
Oh, thank you.
because I was like, okay, I need to see that again because now that
Yeah.
I understand it, I need to go back and
Yeah.
see it now that I get what I'm looking for. And so then I'm like,
Good.
okay.
Yeah.
And so then each time I watched it, I caught something else that I valued in it.
Yeah.
But like you said with the lighting, I remember
Yeah.
that lighting was like the first watch. I was like, what is going on with these lights? Like this is driving
Right.
me bonkers. And
Right.
then
And then
at
you
the
learn
end,
later
it
on,
was
like,
like,
oh, there's a reason why.
oh,
Yeah.
that's why. And-
Something really cool about the film that I really tried to harp on as much as I could. I don't think I'm smart by any means. I'm just going to preface this. But when I was in college online after the military, I studied Ernest Hemingway a lot. I'm not really into like, I'm not really, I don't get so into the weeds of like texture and all that kind of stuff. But Ernest Hemingway like blew my mind, and one of the really cool things that he practiced a lot was called the iceberg theory. Yeah, the iceberg theory,
Mhm.
which basically like when it's kind of like a Hitchcock thing too. You give the audience just like a certain amount of information, and you hide everything else. In the audience, I think what makes a film good is when you leave the audience to be the investigators, and you
Mhm.
leave the audience to do the exploring, not the film. And so, like with this film, we did just that. The entire plot is spoiled in the first 30 seconds if you pay attention, and that's what's really cool about it. There's some flashbacks at the end of the film that you'll see that you've seen. I know you have, that are actually in the beginning of the film, but they're not particularly drawn attention to or highlighted. And I absolutely love that. I like throwing it in the audience's face very subtly, where they have to like pay attention and see those things. Everything
Mhm.
from the toys on the floor to
Yeah.
something on mom, something, stuff like that. It's that it's that whole iceberg theory. It just blows my
Mhm.
mind, being able to hide things and
Yeah.
but you just keeping stuff away from the audience is fun,
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
I
I
don't want to give it all
love
away.
exactly. I love that. It feels like early M Night Shyamalan,
Oh.
like Sixth Sense kind of thing, where if you pay attention, it's all there. You have to watch
Mhm.
it,
Yeah.
at least once, but
Yeah.
everything is like just laid out there for you. But obviously
Yeah.
you don't catch it, and those are the best types of twists when it's
Yeah.
all out there for you. But you're obviously not
How did I miss
looking
that?
for.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the twist comes, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I like to think of it, it's a twist, but I like to not think of it like that. I like to think of it as like a reveal, because
Sure.
like a lot of twists don't really earn their twist.
yeah.
I feel like a lot of films will just be like, bam, and just
Yeah.
turn it on its side and be
Mhm.
like, this is actually what's happening. Versus like in this film, I tried to like throw everything at the audience to where it's like that, like duh, when that
Yeah.
happens, when
Yeah.
Yeah.
you guys know I'm talking about the scene
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
I'm sure like when you watch it, you're like, ah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I was thinking that, but I didn't think so. Especially with low budgets, like like, okay, the bar is pretty low. You're like, my expectations are low because I know this guy grabbed his friends and grabbed his camera, got some friends together and shot. Like, so the expectations are low, and then when you see something, you're like, whoa, okay, wow, they
Yeah.
actually did that.
Yeah.
So I love
Well, and with the length of the film,
Yeah.
I kept telling Danny, like, gosh, this is a film that really makes you see how much you can do in less than 10 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
it was amazing to me. And I feel like it was such a like meaningful story.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of where I wanted to find out from you of like how, if you can share with us, like what this story meant for you.
Yeah, so it's tough to talk about because I don't want to hurt any I'll just say any of my family members that I had experiences with as a kid, but people or someone I love that's very dear to me, but unfortunately weren't in the right mindset through a lot of my childhood. A lot of the experiences in the film were totally written from the heart, and that's kind of the way I'll put it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's a true story because obviously it's the story that it's thing. I don't want I don't want to spoil it, but there's a lot of elements that were inspired by actual events, and I'd say inspired by a lot of emotions in my childhood. And I really wanted to express myself without saying exactly what occurred in my childhood. And I think that's the best way to go about things, because it doesn't come off as so what's the word to explain this, is like it doesn't come off so brash or grim. It's just telling stories. For me, it's better in video than the real thing. That's kind of the gist of it. Just it was inspired by emotions I experienced. And speaking of being a kid, Sophia, who played her titular character, freaking killed it. And of course, like everything from the film, if I'm going to be talking about my inspiration, is from a boy's perspective, but it just goes to show you it doesn't even matter the gender. Everything I put Sophia through. There's some stuff I even had to cut out of the film that was too much, that were actually inspired by actual things that happened. In particular, the scene where Sophia finds her mom. The first time after she puts her to bed, there's a little more to that scene that I had to cut out, that I was like, I think that's too much. But things that actually happened that I wanted to see on film and see if I'd be comfortable with it, and some I actually wasn't.
Okay.
But then she gets dragged up to the ceiling. That's cool. But so it's like just it's just funny how that works. But yeah, I mean that's to answer your question. It's based on emotions as a child. I think other people might be able to relate to that.
Sure. Yeah.
Feelings of maybe isolation. Isolation, loneliness, feeling like you're stuck in a situation and no one's really there to help you besides some other stranger, which you learn in the film. So
it's in there. I mean, it's in the title. You're on your own, kid. Like,
exactly.
True.
That's a funny story too.
Okay,
well, let's hear that story. That's a funny story.
The title?
How did you get that name?
So the film was originally called The Monster in the House. And the reason why I picked that was because to me it sounded like a children's book. And I was like, okay, if you were to pitch this to a kid, you'd be like, let me tell you a story about the monster in the house. And the whole time you're thinking the monster in the house is this, but it ends up being this. But, I went on Google and I Google searched the monster in the house, and there was like 20 other short films called The Monster in the House. And I was like, well, I want to be unique. I want to do something different. That's always what I'm striving to do. So I was like, I'm going to can that. It'll just be a working title until I figure out what I'm going to do. And then after I wrote the script and we filmed, there was a line where she said, "They're in the house." And I was like, oh, that's a cool title. It sounds like a lot of these newer niche horror films coming out, like Come Out and Play, or just films like that where it's a clever little title. And I like that. That's actually what the film was going to be called until me and my wife and kids were driving in the car. I hate Taylor Swift. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. My wife and kids are crazy about her, though. We're driving. And I'm like thinking, I'm always thinking about this film, in that time where I'm editing, I'm doing sound design and all this stuff. It's just on my mind. And my wife plays this song called "You're on Your Own, Kid" by Taylor Swift. And I was like listening to the lyrics, and I was like, man, I hate Taylor Swift, but this song slaps though, right? This song but just listening to the lyrics, I was like, okay, Taylor, I can relate. And just like the lyrics, what she says, and how she says, "You're on your own, kid. You always have been." I was like, I got something in my eye. It just hit me. I was like, man, that would be the perfect title, because in the film she's on her own, and then sadly, as we learn in the as the story develops, she's still on her own. So it was just perfect. It was just like a moment where it just worked.
Yeah.
Especially when I was editing the film and I was typing out the title, and I was like, oh my God, there it is. And I saw it. I was like, done.
And then you became a Swiftie.
There's the X button on this brow. Oh, jeez. That's funny.
All right, yeah. So you were talking about like the kind of the style of filming that you went for, and that was something I recognized right away. This was actually the first short that we watched for the festival, the Sacktown Movie Buffs Film Festival. We were invited to judge some of the films, and I don't know that I don't know. It was so unique because we didn't know what to expect when we started watching these movies. We're like, okay, are these going to be just really low budget, just really poor acting? Like, what are we getting into? And this one, we played it and we're like, okay, this is different. Acting's good. The story is good. It has a really good atmosphere to it. And so what was your how did you do that?
So you mean like technically or like what inspired it?
Both.
So I grew up being obsessed with Wes Craven films. I was obsessed with A Nightmare on Elm Street. I was obsessed with Scream, the People Under the Stairs. I just absolutely loved the environments that he created in his films. And those are obviously like the more darker, like R-rated, not for kids kind of movies that I just watched as a kid because my parents didn't care. But at the same time, I was heavily inspired by Jaws, Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, films like that where they were kind of dark, but they were a little more lighthearted, more family-friendly, I guess you would say. So I think with me, it was a total challenge being like, okay, do I want to be like super scary, or do I want to also kind of have a wider audience without being too PG-13,
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, how can I do that? And I was like, all right, well, what are the things about, these Spielberg movies or Zemeckis movies that make them lighthearted? And I'm like, it's the music. And it's the lighting and the way they do things. And I'm okay, what makes Wes Craven so dark? And I'm like, well, it's, it's dark. And there's really sinister things that happen in gore, like the way they go with it. And so I just found that happy medium. I think what really helped it was finding a good composer. This guy I work with, he's amazing. His name is Dale Sumner. He's a composer in England. I don't deserve him, is the best way I can put it. He's incredible. He's incredibly talented, and I'm just so glad I found him. But him and I work really well together, but we also know how to call each other out when things aren't working, musically. And he's just so good about that. And he's British, so when he, gets mad at me, it's hilarious because, I'm he's like, listen here, fun. He just, just gets on me, and I'm like, this is awesome. I'm getting cussed out by Mary Poppins. But anyhow, so the score for You're on Your Own, Kid was like a mix of like Spielberg, like John Williams, with some, I guess you could say, in line with like Scream and It, and a little bit of touch of Alan Silvestri, and I love that. I love orchestral stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. I think orchestral stuff in horror films is really unique because a lot of horror films is just like synth and quaking sounds and
Yeah.
but I like French horns and violins and stuff like that. So finding that mix with the music and the visuals, with the lighting, I wanted it dark. I wanted it to feel dark. I didn't want it to be movie dark. And for anyone who watches this and is like, what is movie dark? Movie dark is when you watch Indiana Jones and he's in a temple and there's light that comes from nowhere. That's movie dark.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want that. I wanted you to watch it and be like, I didn't want it to be clipping where it's like staticky and, it looks amateur, but I wanted it to feel dark and I wanted it to feel real. I wanted the shadows to feel like, okay, anything can pop out of here at any moment.
Yeah.
And this girl is so vulnerable and my protective instincts are kicking in,
Yeah.
So a combination of the lighting, the sound is what I feel like really sent it home with the film. And then of course the actors just killing it. They didn't require much coaching. It was my first short film professionally I directed, so I had a lot to learn when it came to everything. But to coach actors is not easy, especially a 9-year-old on your first short film. And she's the main character. Like, I'm an idiot. So, but she absolutely killed it, and it was just everyone coming together really made it what it was. While I wore a lot of hats and I did everything technically, when it came to sound and lighting and things like that, I had help. I had people there to move lights for me. My buddy would be like, I'd be like, hey, move that light over here. No. Okay, right there. All right, that's going to be a near side key. And he's like, what? And I'm like, just move it, And so all my friends who like didn't know what I was talking about, I was like, hey, just move this and that. So I could have done it without him.
Okay.
Really
Nice.
so, and he had to hold the boom mic, forever. So I couldn't have done that by myself. So
was there a casting call for the actors, or did you like personally know them? Or
so yeah, when you're this low budget, you take what you can get. But the great thing is what I got was quality, and I'm really fortunate for that. Sophia, my wife, and her parents are really good friends, and one of my daughters knew her through school, and they were good friends. And so it was one of those things where I'm like sitting here like, God, I gotta find a child actress. And originally in the film, I wanted Sophia's character to be like 5 years old. And someone else told me, dude, you're crazy. Like that's gonna be so impossible. And I was like, whatever, and I kind of just met him at the middle. I was like, okay, 9-year-old,
Yeah.
Sophia, I think, was actually 10 or 11 when we filmed it, but she looked younger. So it just worked out. Heather, who played the mom, she was actually a working actress. She was at the time in a local acting school called Studio 24 in Folsom, and she was working, things like that. But I met her through a friend of a friend whose husband owned the studio. His wife, Shelby, who does hair and makeup there, was talking to her. Was like, hey, one of my friends is making a short film. You interested? And she was like, heck yeah. We connected, totally hit it off. She loved the script, and that was it. It just kind of worked out like that. The monster is actually Sophia's dad. Super tall guy. And I was like, hey man, you're like 6'5". I want you to play the monster. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to speak. You just got to walk. You just got to do what I tell you to do. And so he was incredible. And he also played the character at the end, who I won't spoil.
Okay. Yeah.
Walking out of the house carrying her.
Yeah.
Great job.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was funny at the festival. 5 people walked up to him. They're like, "Hey, man, so what department are you with?" And he's like, "I'm not with the department." So it just kind of funny,
Yeah.
But
Nice.
not to spoil it, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was really the cast, and
Mm.
the police officer at the very end, in the hallway. I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
With mom, is one of my best friends from high school. His name is Bryce. He's
Nice.
always been there for me on every single film I ever made in high school, every stupid film I made. He's just always been there to help and never asked for a thing in return. And so he's just someone I always have there to be like, "Hey man, does this suck? Like,
Yeah.
tell me." And he'll tell me, he's
Yeah.
that guy I have. And he's straight was like, "Yeah, man, this sucks." So it's nice to have someone like that there. And then for my most recent short film, he of course did sound again. He did sound on this film, and then he did sound for me again. And he's great. So I'm glad he was there. But he also played the cop there.
Okay.
Nice.
All right, cool. So this film was at the Sacktown Movie Bus Film Fest. Can you talk to us about how you got this film into the festival?
It was just as simple as I submitted. I didn't know Kier before I submitted. I used Film Freeway because it's just the easiest way for a person like me with a family and a full-time job. I can't really go around on foot looking for film festivals, so it's easy to just hop online. And it almost felt like back in the MySpace days when you make your profile, you get your picture, get your top 8, and get your picture. Put your little trailer up, which is your song you used to play, So it's just cool. Like you just have this profile, and then you put your little biography. It's just so easy to market yourself. You just click, and you submit. So yeah, Sacktown Movie Buffs came around because I was like, okay, I want to submit to as many Sacramento film festivals as I can. I want to be able to go to all these. I want to be able to meet people and watch them watch my film. And they were just there. And I took a chance with them. It was their second year. Their first year, I think they had like 100 in attendance total. This year it was like, I think 600, which is like times 5. So that was just really cool. And I can't say enough about Kier and Jason, the organizers. They're just incredible. And it was just like the experience every filmmaker deserves to have. Just friendly, inviting community, but not too cool. Everyone was just down. And I felt super welcomed for my first real experience, besides some other smaller festivals. And yeah, that's how it happened.
Okay,
that's it. Yeah,
cool.
Nothing crazy, no crazy story. It's just
So, have you been asked to be at other film festivals coming up?
Yes, there's a few festivals that, well, actually, quite a few festivals we've been selected for that are coming in the future, all around the world and all around the country. That unfortunately I won't be able to make it to just because of funding and travel. Yeah. But one that's really cool that I really want to go to, but I have a concert already scheduled on the day, is the New Jersey Horror Con, where Kane Hodder, who played Jason Voorhees, right at 34, will be there. Alex Vincent, who played in the original Chucky, first 2 Chucky films, will be there.
Yeah, Andy.
One of the Hocus Pocus witches will be there. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but I know there's a lot of big like cult Hocus Pocus fans. But yeah, it's just like really cool. Like that's something I would really love to do. I'd like to hang out with Jason Voorhees and watch my short film. And it's reading on the same day that he's going to be there. But so stuff like that. That's really cool. I'm waiting to hear back from some other festivals. I'm really looking forward to hearing back from some of the Southern California festivals that I can drive down to and make a trip out of. So that's really what I'm looking forward to.
Cool.
All right. Awesome. Well,
so
go ahead.
Well, with that, then do you have any other projects that you're working on?
Yes. So I actually just wrapped on my new short film.
Okay.
I mean, I actually have my editor up right now. I'm doing like the final mix on the sound, and I just got the final cue back from Dale, my composer, and I was listening to it in my car on my way home from work on full blast, and like nearly shit my pants. It was awesome. Like just like the music, just like it's like the first time you watch Scream
Mhm.
and Ghostface is coming after Drew Barrymore,
Mhm.
and it's just like the sounds just sounded so deadly and dangerous.
Mhm.
Like literally, I just think of a stab. Like that's literally. It's just it's so terrifying. When I popped this in, I was like, dude, like that's the feeling I got. And when
Nice.
when this is on the film, it's just gonna make it even better. But the new film is called Zander.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, it's hard to explain it without giving away the plot.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the gist of this one is a girl's closing up an art gallery, and while she got ditched by her boss and she's cleaning up the mess. There was a mixer that happened, a party.
Mhm.
While she's cleaning it up, she hears the voice of a baby calling to her from the trash can,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
things unravel from there.
Okay.
Wow.
Think you're on your own, kid. When it comes to a deeper meaning, and
Yeah.
I don't like saying a twist, but a reveal.
Yeah.
But this one, so I've privately screened this to probably like 10 people.
Uh-huh.
Every single one of them said scarier, bloodier, more intense, and more straightforward horror, which is really
Okay.
cool to
Okay.
hear.
Nice.
3 or 4 people have cried watching it because the ending is
Oh, wow.
really, really sad.
I can imagine already.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's
Get
worse.
ready.
It's worse than You're on Your Own, kid. In terms of sadness,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's like 10 times worse. I think you guys will totally understand when you watch it. You're gonna be like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
And I'm more than happy to give you guys a free super early screening. I'll send you a link so you guys can check
Oh,
it out.
sweet.
Yeah,
I
we'd
love
love
that.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's literally I literally just put the score on and it's finished. So that's amazing. We just filmed it in March.
Nice.
And
okay.
had an
wow.
amazing crew on it. Yeah, guy named Trevor Hooper was a DP. He's amazing, super talented guy. Dale Sumner did the score again. Heather came back to play the titular character this time. She played the main.
Okay.
And we had some other cool characters in this film. I tried some new things. Went out of my comfort zone. Yeah. So it's exciting. I think you guys will like it.
Nice.
All right.
More monster
Yeah.
effects too. Really good monster effects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have any? So that's completed. Do you have anything in the future
Yeah.
that you're thinking of, writing, thinking about?
Yeah. I'm always really influenced by like real life horror, real life things that really are a threat to us and really scare us. I have this really cool idea. I don't want to say exactly what it is because I don't want someone to steal it. But I have a
Yeah.
really cool idea for a sci-fi.
Well, we have a lot
horror
of people
film.
that watch us, so be careful.
You never know.
So many.
But I have an idea for a sci-fi horror film. That's
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have seen The Sound of Freedom, which is not a sci-fi.
Oh
horror
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So think The Sound of Freedom and Terminator had a baby.
Okay.
Really cool idea, but not time travel. But
Okay.
Sound of Freedom and Terminator had a baby. It's a really cool idea, and I have a lot of people already on board that are really excited about it. In Zander, the guy who plays the monster, his name is Orion Cozy. He's a UFC fighter, and he's extremely talented physically. He plays the monster in the film, and he's fantastic. He's such a good sport. He really is championing this next film, and he's really excited about it. Him and I've been discussing it. So,
all right.
yeah. So a lot of cool things coming. That's going to be a while though for that one.
Okay.
Want a bigger budget.
Are you sticking with short films, or are you planning for any like full length or anything like that?
Like I would love to do a feature, but it's one of those things where it's money and time.
Yeah.
If the right producer came around that wanted to work with me and liked what I was doing, 100% I'd be down. But if I'm self-producing and doing things like that, for now it's short films and just kind of just still enjoying it, because I know when it gets to features it can get really taxing. So I'm still in the phase of just loving it, enjoying it, and just having fun doing it. and not stressing so much about financials and things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of where I'm at. So, but thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
So Blue Canyon Film, is that what your like I guess production company is going to be called, or is that what it's called, or what is that?
So I consider it more of like a studio. So like I don't like when things are named after the person because, I feel like when you detach yourself from the product, I think it's more attractive. And Blue Canyon Film is kind of a silly story. When me and my family drive up to Reno, we always pass Blue Canyon, which is an exit up there, and it's like a big open canyon. And every time we drove past it, it would piss my wife off because I'd be like, Blue Canyon. And she'd be like, dude, like, and every single time we drive up, she'd be looking at me, waiting for me to say it. And I'd be like, Blue Canyon. And she'd be like, oh my God, why do you say that every time? And so, when I was just trying to develop my new studio, I was, man, what do I want to call it? And I had some other names before. And I was like, that just sounds funny and goofy and like it's personal and like it just sounds cool, It reminds me of like Triple Canopy, which is like a special ops like elite unit, military unit. There's Triple Canopy and Blackwater, something like that. But Blue Canyon, it just sounds
it works.
Yeah. Like it.
Yeah, your wife and kids are really involved in naming things for you.
Yeah, they are. I try to mix them as much as I can to the point where I'm spending time with them and doing film. Too much is too much, but there's a perfect mix. Like in Zander, my daughter, her voice is in the film, and it's really cool. And they're like so stoked. They love watching You're on Your Own Kid. They watch it over and over again, and they've been watching the new one over and over again. When I edit my littlest one, she's 5. She tries to sit on my lap and watch. And I'm like, I'm trying to edit. Get out of here, But they're just obsessed with it, and that's the coolest thing ever, especially as a dad. It's like, I want one of them to be a filmmaker one day, or have any interest,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Better than drugs and so
Absolutely.
that's the idea.
All right, awesome. So before we came on with you, we were reacting to the Maxine trailer. We did a video for that. Do you have horror films that you've either seen this year or upcoming this year that you either liked or you're really looking forward to?
Yeah, so I actually just saw Immaculate, and I freaking loved it. Sydney Sweeney really showed her range in the film, I think. She went from like rom-com reputation to kind of scream queen, The movie was dark and almost A24-ish, Was it A24?
I don't think that one was. Yeah, Neon.
So,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. But it was so good. I loved the ending. I loved the way they did it. I really liked the film. This I'm kind of cheating because this film came out last year, but it's one of the only horror films recently that I was just like kind of blown away by just by how well it was done, and that was Barbarian. I freaking loved the way they did that. The first act, you're like, this is a like creepy serial killer kind of film where he's gonna like attack her. Yeah. And the second act, you're like, oh my God, there's a freaking tunnel under the freaking building, and there's something under there. And then the third act, it just goes completely bonkers. Yeah. And the coolest thing about it is the director is one of the guys from The Whitest Kid You Know, which he's a sketch comedy guy. So it's really cool, like Jordan Peele and all this, like the comedians are becoming horror filmmakers.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So
there's always room for a little bit of comedy in horror, and Barbarian definitely had little pieces that had me laugh
here and there.
I think the release makes the tension worse. So I love the idea of comedy. I tried to do that in You're on Your Own Kid with Sophia and the doll, and trying to give her a different dimension of her versus just this flat child that's like, oh, mommy, I want to go to bed. She had her own personality, and in Zander you'll see that too. The characters come alive and they say things that you're like, oh my God, she said people talk like that. So like there's some funny stuff that I think same thing. There's that release before the tension comes, and so I love that stuff.
Cool.
Yep.
So how can anybody who's watching this find You're on Your Own Kid?
You can't, because it's still but
All right.
so I'm still working out like how distribution will work.
Yeah.
And when I say distribution, I mean like who is going to broadcast it, not like
Mhm.
is it going on Amazon Prime or whatever, which it could. But I'm really focusing on well-established YouTube horror accounts. Like there's one that I'm talking to right now who is incredible, very supportive, and is he's been kind of really just kind of being a good mentor for me, and is really into You're on Your Own Kid, loves it, and just won't shut up about it. Messages me every few months. It's like, hey man, so are we gonna release it? And I'm like, it's still festivals. He's like, all right, I'll be waiting. And he has a really big viewership YouTube that has like 181,000 subscribers. So I'm really looking forward to hitting YouTube, but definitely gonna take my time at the festivals, get a little more eyes on it. They're gonna watch the whole thing versus just 30 seconds on YouTube. That's the fear. But yeah, so I'm just gonna focus on like YouTube distributors and things like of that such. I just want as many people to see it as possible. That's really what I'm concerned about. Because the more people that see it, one of them might be a producer that wants to make it a feature. That's the dream. So
especially going to all these film festivals. You're wanting to go to. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's a good place to get the eyes on it. So we were not there for the awards at the festival. Did you win?
I did. I won best short film 10 minutes and under.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was really shocked because I didn't even know I was nominated. And it's funny.
We knew you were nominated.
We're like, okay, man, you're just being humble. I was like, no, I seriously didn't know I was nominated. I must have missed that email where they were saying, hey, go check out the website, see if you're nominated. I had no idea. I planned to be at the award ceremony no matter what, because like I said, I just wanted to be, there where people were watching my film, and then I want to watch theirs,
Yeah.
So I was going to be there no matter what, just because I just loved the environment. I just ate it up, I was like a sponge, and being around other filmmakers was like the coolest thing. It's finally the time of my life where I felt like I was around people who were like me, and the Marine Corps, and I felt totally out of place, and my full-time career totally out of place, as a kid out of place, and then going to a film festival, a bunch of nerds with Star Wars tattoos. I'm like, let's go. But so I just felt like I was in my environment, and I just loved it,
Yeah. Well,
cool.
and I was hearing during your speech of accepting the award, you had mentioned that you didn't even know if you were going to put this movie out, if you were going to keep it.
It wasn't just that I wasn't going to put it out. I was actually going to delete it. So like making this film, everything happening outside of it was kind of hell. In 2020, not necessarily because of COVID, I lost my job for medical reasons, stuff that happened in the military that just came back to bite me. And the employer I had at the time did not like that I had a doctor's note that said, hey, he needs to rest. Still go to work, but be on a day shift and just rest. So they released me from probation. I lost my job. Mortgage, kids, 2 cars, it was pretty stressful. So 2020 is where I just kind of dipped my toes into filmmaking and went back to school and, struggled and to make do, and just, it was pretty stressful. But at the end of 2020, that's when I started writing You're on Your Own Kid, as kind of like a venting process. And then early 2021 was when we filmed it. So we filmed it the first few months of 2021. It took about 4 months to film, just like, okay, 1 week in here, 1 week in here, 1 day here. Oh, we got to reshoot this scene. We got to reshoot that scene. I messed that up. Because I was a director of photography for the whole film. I did all of it, and it was all learning experience. So there were some scenes like the Nightmare Hallway sequence that was too dark. We literally had to reshoot the whole thing. So it was a learning experience. But yeah, so to get to the my comment at the award ceremony, we totally filmed the whole entire thing. I edited it, did the sound design for the most part. Coloring wasn't done. It was sitting on my hard drive on Adobe in my laptop, and it sat there for about a year because I eventually got a job. Then I had to go through training. I had to start a new job, and I had to kind of leave that stuff behind. It sat there for a year, and I went back to revisit it, and I just became so depressed. And I was watching it, and I was like, "This freaking sucks." The sound design wasn't finished. The vocal levels weren't balanced. There's reverb and all this stuff that I just needed to work on that I looked at as like an impossible challenge.
Yeah.
But I just became really depressed about it. And I don't know, it's really weird. I was just really down on myself about it. And I was literally considering just erasing it off my hard drive. I was like, I'm not going to finish this. It's just not going to happen. I wasted my time. I wasted my money. And I was going to wipe it. And the only thing that saved it was being bored one day, pulling a bunch of Jaws scores, Jurassic Park scores, It scores, and putting them on the film just to see what it'd be like if it was done. When I did that, it blew my mind. And I was like, oh my God, this film's actually kind of good. And then that motivated me to finish the sound design, reach out to Dale, reach out to a colorist, and bam, it was done in like 2 months.
Wow.
So
Wow.
It was just all in my own head, I guess, just a little weird. I don't want to say imposter syndrome because I feel like that's kind of douchey. Like, imposter syndrome, I'm so great. But I just went through this phase where I thought it sucked. And I convinced myself that it sucked. And it took just kind of pull my head out of my ass to, take a look at it and have other people watch it and be like, no, this is good.
Yeah.
And then it's become its own thing now, and I love it.
Yeah.
I'm happy I didn't do that. So
yeah. Sure. We're happy you didn't. I'll tell you, with it being one of the first films that we watched with judging, it definitely held the bar pretty high for the rest of the films we were going to watch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kier, when he messaged us about being judges, he was like, yeah, you can like filter it and you can find the horror ones. He kind of wanted to get our take on the horror ones, and he emphasized your film to check out for sure. So that was why we watched it first. Yeah.
Awesome. It's cool to hear all that behind the scenes stuff with the festival.
Yeah.
In a whole other world, dealing with that stuff. So it's cool to see, how some films will just kind of strike someone.
Yeah.
It doesn't really leave you sometimes. You got to tell others. So that's how moviegoers are.
Yeah.
So
I went back today on my phone because I had made notes about the movies that we were told to watch. And I rated them from 1 to whatever. I only have 5 in there, but I watched 9. I don't know what happened to the other 4, but I do have yours down as number 1 of the ones that I watched. So it's that's definitely was definitely the best of them.
Thank you. That makes me super happy to hear.
Yeah.
I have imposter syndrome.
Now you can officially say you're an award-winning.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah, I know I have a lot to learn, and there's a lot more to do and experience, and but it feels good. Tiny victories. It's one thing I learned in the military. Is tiny victories. Just take tiny victories. And, because then it won't get to your head.
Yeah.
It's happened to a lot of people. So
cool. So are you sticking just with horror?
Oh yeah.
Please, you need to brain drop.
I love horror. I've had some cool ideas for some action in films. I had this really cool idea for doing the Three Little Pigs, but live action. Where
perfect.
Okay.
Where the big bad wolf is a cartel kind of member,
Yeah.
And the three little pigs, we focus on one little pig. One of the other little pigs gets shot in a drive-by, and the other 2 little pigs get back together. I kind of had this cool idea to do something like that. I have
I'm gonna hold you to that. You're gonna have to do that one.
I was a rated R Three Little Pigs movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it'd be cool. But there's some other ideas I have that the sci-fi horror one is like the biggest one where I'm like, okay, that's the one I really want to do. That's like the furthest away from horror so far. But
Yeah.
I mean, like who knows? I might want to try a comedy because I feel like a lot of people say horror and comedy are pretty similar. There's like there's a build up, there's a punchline,
Yeah.
Yep.
Who knows? I wouldn't say I wouldn't try it. I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on the crew and the story and whoever I have involved that make it good. It's not just about me, If I can find a funny freaking comedian, I'll be like, hey man, you want to make a short film about something? Like this, just do something. But yeah, that's
cool.
That's really about that. Horror is where I will stay for now.
Yeah.
I'm like one of those people that watch a crime documentary to fall asleep.
Oh
Like,
yes. Hey, that's
horror
me.
movies it's like that's my comfort zone. If you start like when my wife watches all those like dramas about real life stuff, I always say, why do you watch this stuff? I want to get away from reality. Okay, I don't want to be in reality.
So since you were at the film festival, got to see some of these other films. Was there any of the ones that specifically you enjoyed?
Yeah. I really, really liked this one called Hidden Above 2. It's funny because I didn't realize it was a sequel. I thought it was like Hidden Above TOO, like Hidden Above 2.
Yeah.
They are Hidden Above 2. Because I hadn't seen the first one. But what really struck me was the opening shot. This book opens up and it lights up.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, it's so cool. It kind of gave me like total like Zemeckis Spielberg vibes. And I was like immediately sold.
Yeah.
And then the characters in the film, I think, were just really well directed. It was a cool little storyline. The monster I could tell was like really low budget creature design, but I respected it because the story was so good that it like I was forgiving of it. I was that's a demon, and then to find out that the director was 19 years old, I was like, whoa, holy crap. Like I'm jealous. Like this kid, when he's my age, I'm 31. When he's 31, he's gonna be killing it. So that film was really good. I really liked another one called it was called Need a Lift.
Oh yes.
Not to spoil that one too, but that one was really, really well acted. I really liked the actors in it. The actors drove the film.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I think there's a few more that I really liked. Contract was freaking awesome because I'm a huge Evil Dead fan. I had a lot of good conversations with Jack, the director, and also the actor in it. And him and I both love the Ash Campbell character in Evil Dead. And so him and I just totally hit it off and just talking about it. And I just geeked out over his film. And I was like, dude, I loved it how you did this. It was just like, Ash, da-da-da. And,
so something in that one that really stuck with me was when one of the characters throws a gun at him and just hits him in the head.
That was
so funny.
That's funny you said. I told Jack, I was like, dude, loved your film, but what was up with that scene when you shoot that chick in the face with a shotgun and she goes, ow? I was like, dude, they should have blown her head off. Like, budget, special effects. I was like, it was freaking hilarious. I laughed so hard. I wasn't sure about to laugh. I was like, I was getting total Army of Darkness vibes where like, I'm not sure if to laugh right now, but it's freaking hilarious. But just to see someone boom get shot in the head with a shotgun and they go, ow! It's like, I wasn't expecting it, I was expecting blood and gore and and then she walks away. I was like, kind of cartoony.
All right, cool. Well, hopefully next year we'll get to see your next film at this festival. I imagine if you're if it's ready to be submitted, it'll be in there. So and we look forward to watching it.
Sounds good.
Is there any like way that you want us to like shout you out of what people can follow you on or
I'm most active on Instagram just because it's so easy to put out pictures and videos and link people to stuff. with YouTube, it's like just a video, or Facebook is
Mhm.
just a post, and not a lot of younger folks use Facebook now. It's not so much of an
Yeah.
accessible platform anymore. I think Instagram is the best way. My tag is at Blue Canyon Film, and you can find me on there. I'm pretty active on there. I like posting like funny film memes, and I post like film news and stuff just because I just really want to share it with people.
Yeah.
Like when the new Alien Romulus trailer came out, I was like, oh, and I just freaking tapped it like crazy because I found out Fede Alvarez was directing it, who
Yeah.
directed the Evil Dead remake. He's amazing.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, that's the best place to find me.
Okay.
I have a YouTube, but it's not. I'm not so active on it. I just post stuff that I like that I do on there, and whoever sees it sees it. But yeah, I'll be posting a trailer here pretty soon for Zander on my YouTube.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
As soon as it's finished, and I'll probably do like a little build up and get people hyped up for it, and then release it. But
Cool.
it's really excited for people to see a little taste of it.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well,
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for
it was
coming
fun.
on.
Yeah.
We
Fun
always
talking to you
love-
guys. I feel like I'm in my environment here. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, we always love talking to directors and
Yeah.
figuring out kind of the mind of a filmmaker and how
Mhm.
things come to be, because we just view it and we kind of have our critiques or whatever, but we don't get to hear a lot of the behind the scenes until we have guests on like you. So very informative and really cool. Looking forward to your next projects that are coming out, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you
sure.
so much for having me. Yeah, I'm down to come out and hang out with you guys anytime. Just let me know.
Okay.
This is fun.
Nice.
All right.
Sounds good. All
Sounds
right.
good. All right. Well, that was our interview with Mike Matsui, the director, writer, editor, everything of You're on Your Own, Kid. We'll let everybody know when that is available to watch elsewhere other than festivals. But if you can catch it at a festival, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah. So this has been Scare Talk.
Sleep tight.
Don't let
The kid.
the kid bite.